That's rather beautiful, isn't it? That's Blencathra with snow on it, reflecting in Tewet Tarn. You don't get to shoot that very often. I find Tewet Tarn an incredibly difficult place to photograph. In fact, I was here yesterday and I came away with some of the worst shots I've taken in a long time. You know, we all make mistakes, and yesterday I did. But today, it is just looking beautiful, and it's just a case of getting the camera in the right location and letting Mother Nature do its thing, really. There are some locations that work no matter what the conditions are. But this, Tewet Tarn for me, is somewhere where you need to have things just right. It's looking absolutely fantastic. Just got the mountain now peeking out through the top of the clouds. It looks absolutely superb. The composition that I'm going for is very simple. Got my tripod raised as high as I possibly can get it and still be able to use it comfortably, and that's because here at Tewet Tarn there's a lot of reeds in the foreground, and actually the reeds are cutting into the reflection of the mountain, and there's not an awful lot I can do about that. I did try shooting further up there, but you still can't get high enough. And then I'm just, as usual, running my horizon right through the middle of the frame. I generally do that when I'm shooting reflections like this. And it's just simple as that, you know, nothing complicated. When conditions are this good and a scene looks this good, it always helps just to keep it simple and, you know, really let nature do its thing. And yeah, I mean, wow. The snow's actually been quite difficult to photograph today. Most camera systems will see the world as 18% grey. So when you put something that's white in front of it, it will think that the scene is actually brighter than it is. But only part of this scene is white. And so the camera is actually exposing correctly for a change, which is blowing the snow out. So I'm having to expose 2/3 of a stop under what the camera is saying. I've also got a 2-stop soft edge grad on the front of the camera, and that's just to try and pull some detail back in that sky. We've got a reasonably interesting sky, but it's really this shot is really all about those reflections. Those shots are looking fantastic on the back of the camera, but I'm not going to count my chickens just yet. You see, yesterday I was here. I was actually shooting from up on the hill that overlooks the tarn. It was a lot windier. We were at the end, with the tail end of Storm Kira, and it was nothing like it is today. And I was shooting up there because the surface of the tarn was broken. I didn't want to shoot down here, so I shot up there trying to use the tarn in the midground. And I thought I'd nailed it, I'll be honest with you. I thought I'd really got it sorted out. But when I got home and I got the images on the camera, disappointed doesn't begin to cover it. I mean, the shots were really bad. They're so bad, in fact, that I'm not actually going to show you them. And what I'd done was I'd taken on far too complicated a composition. Normally, when I'm shooting my kind of style, I might have 1 or 2 elements in the frame. Usually if I'm shooting something like this, these reflections, then I actually only have one. You know, you've kind of got that kind of one-dimensional, two-dimensional shot, very flat. That's generally how I shoot. More recently I've been adding foreground interest in there, so you end up with a couple of elements in the frame. Whatever's in your foreground and then whatever's in your background. If you saw my video from up at Tewet Tarn, that was very typical of the way I've been shooting more recently. So we had rocks and stones in the foreground, and then we had some beautiful reflections, some glorious light on the other side of the tarn. And that's usually my kind of thing. But up there, I was trying something far too complicated. I actually had 4 elements in the composition. I had some rocks in the foreground, I had the tarn in the midground, I had the mountains in the distance, and then I even had a wall on the left-hand side. And as a result, the shot I came out it was awful. You know, it was really bad. Now, we all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Don't let any photographer ever tell you that they don't make a mistake, because if they do that, they're either lying or they're not pushing themselves hard enough. But when we make mistakes, it's really important to learn from them. I learn a huge amount more about every bad photograph that I take than every good one that I take. And that's what I've done today. I've come back to try and correct the problem that I had yesterday. Now, it's very, very important as a photographer to be self-aware, to know what you're good at and what you're bad at. Now, that doesn't mean you should always play to your strengths. You should always play safe. But when you make a mistake like I did yesterday, when I took on a composition that was just too big for me, in order to regain my confidence, to build that back up again, it was important for me to come out again today, play to my strengths, and get a shot that I'm happy with. Now, as you could probably see, the weather has changed considerably just in the time that I've been speaking to you. But I'm going to hang around, see if anything exciting happens. I am going to pack my camera away, because that Canon 6D, according to Canon, is moderately weather sealed, which I think is Canon speak for don't leave it out in the rain. So that's the camera stowed away nice and safe. Now we can get back to what we were talking about, which was making mistakes. Now, as far as mistakes are concerned, I do have a couple of pieces of advice. When you make a mistake, it's important to really analyse your images. Try and figure out what you did wrong, what don't you like about the image, why doesn't the image work, and really be self-critical. And that's how we learn, that's how we build self-awareness, that's how we learn what we're good at and what we're not so good at, areas that we can work on to improve. And it's also important to realise when we've made a mistake because we've pushed ourselves and stepped out of our comfort zone, which is no bad thing, and when perhaps we've made a cock up doing something that we're normally quite good at, maybe because we weren't concentrating, maybe because we were too busy fannying about with video, which I do a lot. The other thing is then to get out as soon as you possibly can. Now, it's different for me because I can shoot all the time, I understand that. But if you've made a mistake, don't let that eat away at your confidence. Confidence is a hugely important thing for any artist. And if you allow that to eat away at you, that last time you had that shot, you made a really big mistake, then that ultimately is going to damage you. We need confidence to get out there and take shots and push boundaries and try things new. If we don't have that confidence, then we'll shoot less and we will stay within our comfort zone. We don't want that feeling of failure. So it's really important to get out and then get back to your basics like I have today. Get a nice simple shot and allow that confidence to come back. Realise you're not the world's worst photographer, as I thought I was yesterday, and move on from it. Put it down to experience, learn from it. Now, mistakes do have their place. I generally try new things when I'm out shooting on my own. There is no place for mistakes in my business. Now, my business is predominantly taking people to parts of the Lake District and helping them with their photography. And so when it comes to compositions, when I'm working on one-to-ones and when I'm working on workshops, these are compositions that I know work. I do not try new things when I'm out there because I do not have that space to make the mistake. The most important thing is making sure that the people on one-to-ones and on workshops come away with the best shots possible. And therefore, I'm going to stick to compositions that I know work. And that's really, really important. But a lot of the time, when I'm not on one-to-ones and workshops, I'm out looking for new locations, looking for new compositions that I can use in the future. So I am constantly pushing myself. I am constantly looking for new things, and that's where the mistakes come in. If I don't push myself, I will never learn. I will never be able to expand my skills and expand the business. And in that process, I will make mistakes. And for me, it's all about owning those mistakes and using those to the best of my ability, to learn the most I can about them, to accelerate that learning process. And let's not forget that that is a big part of why I did this in the first place, why I left my old job so that I could shoot all week, if necessary, to improve my photography and get more out of it for myself, as well as building a business and working for myself. Anyway, that's enough from me today. I think I've done okay. I think I've corrected the mistake that I've made. I think I've come away with a better shot today. I think that's going to keep my confidence up, because I've been reasonably confident just recently. So yesterday was a little bit of a fly in the ointment. If you've got any tips for how to use mistakes to your advantage, and how to come back after making a big mistake, then do leave a comment below. I learn an awful lot from what you guys write in the comments, as does everybody else. So if you've got any tips, as I say, stick a comment below.